Half-Shell Oyster House offers award-winning cuisine and service. Named TripAdvisor Best Top 10 Small Chains in the United States. Voted Best Seafood in Mississippi Magazine 8 times. You can enjoy award-winning oysters and seafood, delicious steaks, pastas, sandwiches, salads, and so much more in a unique, polished casual dining experience. Half-Shell Oyster House is located at 115 Laurel Park Cove, Suite 105, Flowood, Mississippi 39232. Or you can give them a call at 769-257-7586. And hey, tell them Sonia sent you.
She say sports. She say sports. She say sports. She say sports.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Sonia, and welcome back to She Say Sports. Today I have with me from the Football Policy and Compliance Department at the National Football League and founder of Juve Hearts, attorney Valeria C. Williams. Hi Valeria, how are you today?
I'm good, Sonia. How are you?
I am doing well. This show almost didn't happen.
I know we pushed it back so many times, but you know what? The timing is absolutely perfect. So whenever we can actually do it, that's when we're supposed to do it.
Absolutely. I'm just so glad you're here today.
Thank
Tell the
you.
listeners a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I am from a very small town called Cottonport, Louisiana. I'm a small town Southern girl living right in the middle of Manhattan, New York City.
Wow.
Like you said, I work for the National Football League, but it wasn't an easy journey, which we'll get into that a little later. I like to think that I'm someone that loves to empower and inspire other women who see themselves as trailblazers and pioneers in their careers, in their passions, what they're pursuing. And so I always like to be the person that I'm looking to have in my life, that mentor, that life coach to the next woman. And that's coming up right behind me.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
So you and I actually met last year on a panel. I forgot what it was called, but it was a symposium that was by Brandy Granderson.
Yes, it was in sports.
It was in sports. It was awesome. I was so glad to meet all of you ladies. So Valeria, before working with the NFL, you dealt with law in another capacity, working with juveniles. Could you please elaborate on your actual role you served with the youth?
Yes, so I had so many different capacities. I'd say that right out of law school, I worked as a law clerk for a judge, and he sat for almost 15 years on the juvenile court judge. And the year that I clerked for him was the year that he retired on the juvenile court judge. So that was a direct exposure and experience I had with juvenile law. It wasn't in a representative capacity because I was a law clerk. It was more so in a, a clerkship and an administrative capacity. But that experience, I had a lot of exposure to, the nuance of being a juvenile, whether it is on the delinquency side or the child welfare side, because I served as a liaison to court-appointed attorneys, to CASA, which they are like appointed representatives, special representatives for children that are in need, whether they're abused or neglected and they removed from the home and they need an advocate on behalf of them, with the public defender's office, with probation officers. And so I served as a liaison, just taking in the clients, doing their intake paperwork, to prepare the judge for their 6-month annual and permanency hearings. And so in that capacity was more of an administrative capacity, but it really encouraged me to go and get my certification to be a children's attorney and to start my nonprofit, Juve Hearts.
That's awesome. So I noticed you have a master's of law degree in tax law. Did you already have a passion to serve children, or was this developed as your career blossomed?
So I always had a passion to serve children. And Sonia, it started when I did pageants for many years. And so when you're competing in pageants, it was the Miss America system. You had to have a platform, and my platform was called Character Counts. And so from a very young age, children was something that I was always involved in, their development, their character, helping them be better stewards of who they are and as they grow into who they're becoming. And so it kind of really just grew, matured into not necessarily a career, but just something that I've been passionate about and that I call a ministry. Mm-hmm. And so tax law really came way after I clerked juvenile court. After I left juvenile court, I worked as a sexual assault attorney. And on there, I worked with the Human Trafficking Task Force, just a few meetings. And that experience was very short-lived. And from there, I opened up my own business firm. And while I was pursuing that entrepreneurship, that's where I decided to go and get a master's of law in tax law, because a lot of my clients had questions about tax implication, tax responsibilities and liabilities that I couldn't answer, Sonia, because that I don't have a background in accounting and tax. So I was really encouraged to go and to pursue further education so that way I could represent my business clients more competently. And so from there, I still had that passion to work with the youth, and I really was pursuing more so entrepreneurship and business law at the time, and starting Juve Hearts came very much later after that.
And so, yeah, let's get into that. Tell us about your organization and how you got it all started.
It was birthed during my time in juvenile court. Honestly, it was the very first day. And I can say that I was living in Las Vegas before I accepted the job. It was in Alexandria, Louisiana. If you're not from Louisiana, you probably would have no idea what it looks like, but it's a very small country area. And I moved from Las Vegas to Louisiana, and I honestly did not want to. But I could not find a job at the time. I was still trying to pass my bar exam, and this opportunity came available. So the very first day I was in court, I saw it. I saw the young girls that come in, and I saw the gap. I saw the gap in, I guess, the need for development, the need for having a mentor, the need for having a life coach. And from there, I knew that that was something that I could contribute to. I knew that I had a lot of experience from character counts and from my teen years in high school working as a mentor. And I knew that it was something that I can contribute to society. It wasn't until I moved to New York City that I really developed the courage. So I had the desire for many years, Sonia, and I just sat on it. Like most of us, we have this idea and we don't really act on it because we don't know the first steps to take. We develop fear. We're overwhelmed by how big it is. I'm still a little overwhelmed. And so maybe about 5 or 6 years after I developed the idea to do it is when I actually started the nonprofit. And so what Juve Hearts is we're a nonprofit organization that strives to work as a mentor and a life coach for girls between the ages of 8 to 18. And we have a signature life coaching program called Hidden Treasures. And there are points of the crown that we focus on in this life coaching curriculum. And that is identity, heart posture, calling, pursuit, freedom. There's a month dedicated to each one of those pillars where we focus on a lesson. And we really just dive in one-on-one with the girls to really address issues internally that would ultimately affect externally. And so we aim to work with girls who are involved in the court system, whether it is on the juvenile side or the welfare side, as they are adolescents and they're growing into adulthood, to prevent recidivism, to prevent them from getting involved into the court system as an adult. And as you can imagine, it's a very sensitive area. It's an area where you really have to be intentional about putting in the time and the effort. And I think for me right now, it's just developing the strategy and the plan. So that way, whenever the life coaching program does get kicked off, we will be able to be sustained and we can touch as many hearts as we can.
That's awesome. How did you come up with that? So Juve Hearts. Yeah, never mind.
Juvenile Hearts is based off of Proverbs 4:23. Guard your heart above all else, for everything you do flows from it. And so we're targeting the heart and the posture and the things that go in it, because their life flows from whatever it is that they receive in their heart.
I love that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Cool. So you mentioned earlier you were on the task force for human trafficking. And, as we know, human trafficking has become one of the major crimes in the world after trafficking in arms and drugs and one of the fastest growing criminal enterprises because it holds relatively low risk and high profit potential. Well, what role did you play on the task force?
I was really at the front end, and it was a very short-lived experience. It was more so having meetings with a lot of other agencies that are really on the ground, meetings with the FBI, meetings with a lot of state and federal agencies, just planning for and training on how to identify human trafficking victims. And that was due to my role with being a sexual assault attorney, because a lot of the clients that we saw through that center, most of them were from human trafficking. And so we needed to be able to identify what a person looked like that went through that type of experience, so that way we can provide the necessary services for them. I wasn't, on actually involved and behind the scenes and on, I guess you can say, directly impacting, like, I guess, a lot of people who are on task force, but my role was just more so just participating in the meetings to develop the plan and to be able to identify what a victim would look like for us in a sexual assault center.
Gotcha. Okay. So, and you mentioned, you dealt with sexual assault kids. Were they children?
Where these were actually girls that were college age, young adults, between the ages of like 18 and 25.
And this type of job doesn't just stay at the office. This goes home with you, with your emotions and your heart. How are you able to balance work life
it was
in
hard.
This type of situation? I know.
Honestly, it was very hard. And I'm a woman of faith. And so a lot of prayer and just being grounded in the word of God and staying in community with my church. And during that time, it was really heavy. It was very heavy, which is why I decided to pivot from that area and go into more business and get it and be an entrepreneur and pursue that tax license. But that's still a part of me that I do believe that I can use in my nonprofit, that experience, that training. I got 40 hours of sexual assault training. I was on the human trafficking task force. I had my children's certification. And so that training and that experience is what I'm bringing into Juve Hearts, is what I'm using to contribute to the curriculum, to be able to provide the necessary services for those young women that we are going to encounter who may have different backgrounds from different walks of life, different experiences, and we want to be able to meet them right where they are. So even though those experiences in a vocational capacity was very short-lived, it is something that I do plan to continue on in my nonprofit and our ministry work.
That's awesome. And you mentioned that you're a business owner. Tell us about the WV firm.
So it's a consulting firm. It's more so business, where we work to help people start small businesses, nonprofits. We do a lot of transactional things. It's more so on the business consulting side as opposed to the legal side of things. And a few years ago, I started it not really to just be an attorney, but just to help friends and family who wanted to start their own businesses. And it kind of just really grew by word of mouth. And even now, like, I don't really advertise it. I do have a full-time job, but it is something that I do on the side. And I don't really, it's more so, I guess, my way to give back, because I don't really charge people for it. And I guess that's why I don't advertise for it. And it's just basically to give business owners the necessary tools that they need to get their business off the ground, to actually get that idea into a vision and get it into a blueprint that could be expandable into something to where they can actually make money and a profit and provide services to their economy.
That's great. So, as you mentioned, you work a full-time job with the NFL, a very drastic change. How did this opportunity come about?
I wasn't looking for it. And I can say in my interview with the guy who hired me, he's transitioned, he's no longer there. I told him that I wasn't even an NFL fan. I was indirectly a fan through my brothers and my father. And I said that in all honesty and transparency, so that way he wouldn't ask me any football questions that I couldn't answer in the interview. And it came about, honestly, I was walking from church, and one of my church members who was working at the NFL at the time, he knew that I had a background in compliance, and one of his colleagues had just transitioned to another department in the NFL, and he thought that it was a compliance position that was available, and he said, "Why don't you try for it?" And I said, "I'm not applying to the NFL, so I don't think I could ever get an opportunity with the NFL." He said, "You just never know, just try." And so I really just like took a leap of faith, and it ended up not being a compliance role. It was in legal, doing more so labor arbitration. But just having that interview and getting the thought of the idea of working for someone like the NFL was very inspiring. It's something that I would say someone from my background wouldn't necessarily have the opportunity to do. And so I went for it. And it just so happened that the guy who went to the actual compliance role, he ended up leaving about maybe a year and a half with me being at the NFL. And so that's the role that I'm in now, the football compliance role. So I ended up taking the labor arbitration role only to transition into the actual compliance role that the guy thought was open. So that's my current role now.
It's amazing how it came full circle.
Full circle.
So the job is pretty self-explanatory, but however, please tell us what your day looks like.
No day is the same. And I think that's what I love about my role. It's a non-traditional legal role. I'm not going into the office litigating against clients. The way the NFL system works is we have a collective bargaining agreement that we negotiate with the labor union, the players union. And so my role really deals with policies that are centered around the game, on-field violations, playing rule violations. And so my day-to-day looks like basically just enforcing the league policies for players. I own the drafting and the enforcement for that policy. And that just ensures that there's a lot of transparency and fairness with enforcing our NFL rules. I also administer the player appeals process, where we have jointly appointed hearing officers that hear player appeals for any on-field violations. And so it's more so just like an accountability for the players and for our NFL rules, just ensuring that the game is played safely, the fans are enjoying it, and that, you know, we are actually contributing to the whole ecosystem of the NFL by ensuring that the rules are being followed.
Absolutely. That's great. So what advice would you give young ladies who are interested in getting a career in sports?
So I would say getting a career in sports, you got to kind of take every advice with a grain of salt. Like for me, my role wasn't a direct path. I am not an athlete. I didn't take any sports law courses. I didn't work for sports administration in college. And so for me, I kind of just stumbled upon the opportunity. I kind of really trailblazed my way, and I'm still kind of pioneering my way into this path. And so the first advice would be to just take every advice that they receive with a grain of salt. Second, it's okay if they don't really know what specific area of sports that they want to go in, but to just educate themselves on the different areas. The business of sports is so vast that you can honestly just find an opportunity in any area and you will be working in sports. And thirdly, I would say really just network on LinkedIn, network on your social media, and find internships at leagues, at sports institutions, at the NCAA, at different sports and entertainment industries and companies to get that exposure for whenever you're ready to pursue that career.
Okay, that's awesome. That's good advice. So Valeria, like me, you not only came from a HBCU, but from a SWAC school. You attended and graduated from Southern University, one of our biggest rivals, but whatever. Uh,
What's Chicago? What
you
school
know,
you?
Jackson State is homecoming, baby.
I cannot. I Sonya, you left that out.
Yes, I am a tiger. And I got to get over this sickness crap because it's our homecoming week.
Our homecoming is coming up as well.
Yeah. So, well, you're going to be working, but
I know.
I'll be at the game when we play Southern. So, yeah. But anyway, my point was, as you know, the SWAC has been getting a lot of attention in television, being on television since spring of 2021. And what are your thoughts on Hall of Famer Deion Sanders, which is our coach, and all the attention that the SWAC is receiving right now?
I think it's an amazing exposure. And I say that because the potential is there at our SWAC schools.
Yes.
The guys have the talent. They just don't know how to pursue the opportunity. And having someone like Coach Sanders with that experience, a former player, coming back to an HBCU school and really just investing through training, through technique, is really building up that potential to really be prepared for the opportunities to go to the NFL draft, to go to the NFL combine,
Right.
and to be seen by scouts throughout our country. And I would say that we have some of the most talented men that are playing in some of our SWAC conferences. And, you know, in years past, unfortunately, they just were not discovered. They were not seen because the exposure was not there. And so I think it's an amazing thing that we are starting to see a lot of exposure to these SWAC schools because of the head coaches that are coming from that NFL experience. And I'm excited for what the future is going to hold for our SWAC conferences and these schools and these colleges and these students alone. I know it's going to be life-changing. And I hope to be a part of that and to contribute to that in the future as well.
That would be awesome. That really would. You know, you mentioned earlier about the scouts, and that was my next question. You know, do you think the NFL scouts are paying more attention? And they are, because Deion is, everybody, you know, some people was like, he a big mouth, but I'm like, he's always been when we met him, when he first got in the league, that's who he always been.
He's authentic.
He's very authentic. And he is a marketing genius.
Absolutely.
Oh my, if you're on his social media, when I say he is amazing, he is a marketing genius. And it's not just Jackson State, but it's rolling over into all the SWAC schools.
Absolutely.
And I'm happy about that. I'm so excited.
And it's necessary. It is absolutely necessary.
It really is. So hopefully you'll be able to come to a game or something. We're gonna beat y'all this year though.
Yeah, I doubt it. When is the game, Sonya?
It's I think it's what is this, October 16th? So it's like in 3 weeks.
Okay, I know you guys are gonna lose, so I'll call you and check on you.
No, I'll be calling to check on you, sister.
I'm gonna call you. You know what? I'm gonna FaceTime you. I'm gonna set up a Zoom so I can see your face.
What's up, girl? I'm be like this. Look. Oh, we're gonna get y'all and our corn. So
okay, all right. Now we can agree on that.
Yeah. So, but Valeria, before I let you go, I play this game called You Can Get With This or You Can Get With That. And what it is, it's just a way for the listeners and myself to get to know the guests better. They're real easy questions. So I'll ask you a few questions and you choose the one that best fits you, okay?
Okay.
All right. What's worse, washing dishes or doing laundry?
Laundry.
I hate washing dishes.
I think it's because I still have to fold the clothes.
You know what? When I lived in Dallas, a friend of mine, every Thursday we would get on the phone and we would wash clothes together. She was cooking food for her family and we would fold. It's relaxing for me. I hate washing dishes.
No, dishes, you can get it done. You can wash it one and done and you can let them dry in the dishwasher and just let it sit.
I hate it though. I hate it.
Laundry takes too long.
I need a maid.
Me too.
Tablet or computer?
Computer. I'm
Computer.
very old school.
Me too, very old school. Money or free time?
Free time.
Because people don't realize time is flying.
And you can't get that back.
Can't get it back.
You can
You can
always
always
find a way
make
to get
money.
money. Time, you can't.
That's true. Beer or wine?
Both. Wait, it depends on the occasion.
Wait a minute.
Because
That's
for
a
a
little
game,
AKA.
a
I thought you was
beer.
gonna say wine.
For football games, for
Yeah,
sporting
beer.
games, it's beer and chicken.
Yeah.
But
Or-
just to wind down the night and just relax, a glass of wine. I would say 50-50. If I'm going out, it just depends on the mood I'm in. I'll do wine or I'll do beer. I'm a
I
both.
love it. I love it. Sweater or hoodie since we're in the fall season?
Hoodie.
Yes.
Yes.
I love hoodies.
So
with some
cozy.
with some leggings. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love this one. Do you prefer honesty or others' feelings?
Honesty. Yeah. I used to be a people pleaser and that kind of really didn't
Go over well.
at all. Yep. So honesty.
I'm the same way. Do you prefer blinds or curtains?
Blinds, because I don't have curtains. I think, when it got down to me having to put my own curtains up and that went out of the window. So the blinds work for me.
I agree. Same here. Do you prefer emails or letters?
Emails.
So while you're walking or jogging, do you prefer music or a podcast?
Now music.
What do you listen to?
Christian rap.
Oh, do you love Flame?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Flame, I discovered him in 2008 because I was like, Lord, I'm a hip hop girl. I'm a hip hop baby. So I'm trying to listen to more.
I go back and forth.
Depends on the type of workout I'm doing.
Right. So yeah, okay, but go ahead. So gospel, gospel rap. Last but not least, do you prefer Louisiana or New York?
Home is where the heart is, but right now in my life, I prefer New York.
Oh, I love Manhattan.
I'll go home and I'll spend time with my family and let it be crawfish season and I'll stay a week and it is time for me to get back to New York. I think that there's something about this city that literally gets me going. It wakes me up. It makes me want to just pursue. When I'm at home, I'm comfortable. I find myself getting complacent. I plateau and I'm not as much of a visionary as I am in New York. I know when I'm in New York because I'm constantly pursuing something and I love to be on the pursuit.
I love that. So Valeria, before of course it's been a major pleasure. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. I'm glad we were able to make it.
I know. Oh my gosh. It was a rough Monday.
Girl,
Lord,
it was rough today too.
I'm gonna have to wear an eye patch. Y'all, I've been sick since last week. So this eye was like completely red.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, I can't cancel this because I don't know when I'm gonna be able to get her again. So my sister, I said, go get me an eye patch. So she bought me an eye patch. So I was gonna have to come on the show, but she called me and was like, I'm not feeling well. We had the exact same thing.
Yes, same thing.
And I was like, thank you, Jesus. Not that you were sick.
Right, but
I was like, oh God, thank you. So it worked out. So both of us are feeling much better.
Much better.
So, much better. But it has truly been a pleasure having you on the show. Please tell the listeners how they can follow you on social media and also about Juve Hearts.
Yes, you can find Juve Hearts at juvehearts.org. That's JUVEHEARTS.org. My social media, I have an Instagram and that's V_WMS_. I'm also on LinkedIn at Valeria.Williams.
Awesome. And guys, you can follow me at She Say Sports on Facebook, She Say Sports 23 on Instagram, at She Say 23 on Twitter. And please subscribe to our YouTube page. She Say Sports. It's free. Just click subscribe. That's it. That's all. So I need you guys to do that. Well, oh, that's what I had to ask you. Cottonport, where is that? Is that near New Orleans or Baton Rouge?
No, it's close to Alexandria, is in the
Okay.
central part of
I'm going-
Louisiana. Yeah.
Like,
I lived
okay.
in Baton Rouge for like 10 years. So it's about maybe an hour and 45 minutes from Baton Rouge.
Okay. Well, when you say Alexandria, so I know exactly where that is.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, guys, that's my show for today. Until next time, this is Sonia with She Say Sports.